First of all, it is such a pleasure to speak to you, and especially on such a historic day. What does it mean to you, having just met the Queen, to see this celebration of this enormity?
I'm very happy that this is happening and that Her Majesty is able to experience it. I think it's just a wonderful tribute for the 70-year reign that she has had over, the United Kingdom, and also as being the Queen's representative in Canada is very important for my work, and also it's very significant to a lot of Canadians.
It certainly is, and I think it's interesting that she's being referred to as the first feminist in a way, and I wonder your views, having met her face to face. Did it surprise you? Was she what you expected?
When I met with her, yes, she was very kind and very, just had a nice chat, like sitting together in the afternoon and talking about all the different things that are happening around the world. And she was very much, engaged in those discussions. So it was two things. One, she was very welcoming and made us feel very welcome into her home, and also that she's so astute and still very engaged in what's going on. So both of those things are very important for someone like her to be able to present that to the world, really.
And for so long.
Yeah, and for so long.
Did you have a discussion with her about the Indigenous question in Canada and whether or not there should be an apology coming from the Queen herself? Is that something?
No, that issue hadn't come up then, so it wasn't part of our discussion. We did talk about the residential schools and the unmarked graves that have been found, and she felt, very bad about that, and felt really wanted things to work out for everybody. So that was kind of the extent that we discussed that issue. But I did talk to her about the work that I'm doing on reconciliation, that I'm the work that I'll be doing during my term is to bring Canadians and Indigenous Canadians, both from across the country and from the Arctic, to have these discussions where we can learn about each other and be able to live side by side and give each other space and have equal opportunities and education, jobs, all that space that is needed for respect, so that the racism that we have experienced, starts to go away. So there's a lot of work to be done, but we have to start. I mean, it's already been happening, and we're going to engage even more.
And so this is the kind of conversation you had with Her Majesty?
Yes.
Did that surprise you that she was so aware and engaged in?
No, it didn't really surprise me. I followed her probably all my life. I can remember when I was growing up, my grandmother used to have a picture of her, and she was revered in the Arctic. She was totally revered, and she used to tell us about the Queen, that she was the highest order of the land, it was, and I've always had a very strong interest in her work, so it was really like, I suppose what I felt like I was visiting somebody I knew, and I was also visiting somebody that cared. So those, just talking about those issues together. And she had a few laughs. My husband's a good storyteller.
I hear she has a wonderful sense of humor.
Yes, she does. Yeah.
But imagine what your grandmother, who had that picture of the Queen your whole childhood, and your mother would think, first of all, your role as her representative in Canada, and that she's made it to a platinum jubilee.
Yes, exactly. And I only wish my parents were still alive, and my grandmother, who was the one that really talked about her a lot, and they would be so proud of what's happening right now.
Why was it important for you to be here? You've just arrived today. What motivated you?
I really am excited about the Platinum Jubilee event because I think it really shows that the country cares and that we recognize the importance of what she's done as a leader in this world. And I think that for me, as her representative in Canada, I feel it's really important for me to make the connection and be here.
Now that we learned tonight that the Queen won't be there tomorrow, how concerned are you for her well-being? I mean, having just seen her mobility.
Yeah. Well, she was doing well when I saw her. She was still, recovering from the COVID, from the pandemic. But she was getting stronger, and when I saw her this morning, waving to all the people that were here, and she looked so beautiful. She absolutely radiated, and that's her moment. That's really what, she needs to take that with her and be very proud of what she has done.
How do you think she's inspired you?
Well, she inspired me for so many years. I went through probably a rough period as well when I was young, being the only woman in many, many organizations and in discussions at board meetings. And, it took a lot of years before I was able to just be part of, the crowd, so to speak, and the acceptance that even though I was a woman, I could still do the work just as well as anybody else. And I think role models like Her Majesty really help you stay strong and to just stay focused and work at what you feel is important. That's what I've done. Well, I also just was so touched by her, the love that she showed for her family, her grandchildren, her children. She talked about them, and she was expressing how important they were to her. And it was a family, it was a family that she was proud of, that she loved, and she talked about it, which was really beautiful.
That was in your private conversation with her.
Yeah.
That must have been very powerful. I mean, there must have been a moment where you thought, I'm talking to the Queen.
Yeah.
The Queen is telling me about her kids. Was there that sort of strange moment?
Yes. Yeah, it was, and also just the fact that she mentioned each of her children, not just one or two, but all her children, and mentioned all of them in her own way, and it just made me realize even more that she is very human.